Very good evening. Jai Shri Krishna Guru. Thank you for joining the Bhagavad Gita Satsang, the way of life as described by Lord Shri Krishna to Arjuna. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha, Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha, Om Shri Saraswataya Namaha, Om Shri Guru Dattatreya Namaha, Om Shri Mahalakshmi Namaha, Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. We'll be continuing from chapter 4, that is on the yoga of knowledge as well as the disciplines of action and knowledge. And today, the Lord is going to be describing to Arjuna the different forms of sacrifices with their fruits. We have completed till verse 25. Let us begin from verse 26 onwards. So, chapter 4, verse 26. Others offer as sacrifice their senses of hearing, etc., into the fires of self-discipline. Other yogis again offer sound and other objects of perception into the fires of the senses. In the last verse, we learned something very profound. What did the Lord tell? He taught Arjuna that yogis duly offer sacrifice only in the form of worship of gods, that is, some other yogis. And while others perform sacrifice by offering the self by the self itself in the fire of Brahman, that is, we destroy the ego. The lower self, the higher self offers the lower self in itself in the fire of Brahman. So in the unmanifest. So what happens? You destroy the lower self. That is called the ego, the identity, which is saying I, me, myself, I am the body, which identifies itself with the body. That self is offered by the higher self in itself, and it destroys that ego, which is like you surrender that ego. That is what is important when you are evolving on the path of spirituality. So that's a sacrifice that you do. And in the earlier verse, we learnt about how, everything is offering a sacrifice. And most importantly, he taught, that is, Lord Shri Krishna is telling Arjuna, how one has to work merely for the sake of sacrifice. And then no action is bound, which means you will not incur any karma. So everything that you do, you see something, you eat something, even you wear nice clothes, everything has to be the sacrifice itself. Sacrifice to whom? So when you see something, you're offering the sacrifice to the God in the eye, the vision. You're seeing with your senses, correct? Your sense organ is being used with the sense, the senses is coming in contact with the sense object. Through the sense organ, you're sensing that object. And when you sense, what happens? You're offering that sense, whatever that sacrifice of the aspect called seeing. That seeing, you admire something. That admiration is what you offer in the fire. That is to the God. It's a sacrificial pit. So everything has to be thought as a sacrificial pit alone. But if you're enjoying with your senses and thinking, I want to possess that rose, I know it's a beautiful flower, I will keep it in my, either you will say I will keep it in my hair, or I will, put it in my flower vase, or I will offer it to the God. Everything is about possession. But when you think about saying I want to offer it to the God, then you're not possessing it for yourself. It's like you're doing a selfless service. Then you offer it to the Divine Lord. In the similar case as well, whatever you hear, whatever you speak, whatever you smell, you touch, you feel, everything is a sacrifice alone. It's an offering in the sacrificial pit. So the Lord is saying others. So see, different people offer different kinds of sacrifice. So here he's teaching how everything is a sacrifice itself. So here he's telling others offer as sacrifice their senses of hearing, etc. So when you hear something very sweet, you say, thank you God for this beautiful, music. Say, assume you're listening to some very beautiful bhajan, Krishna Ashtakam. So you're listening to it, and then you're offering it as a sacrifice because your ear is listening. That's a sacrifice to the God within the ear. And what happens then? You're also offering it as a sacrifice to the Divine Lord because you're lost in the oneness with the Divine Lord. That is what it is. And then what happens? You offer the sound and other objects of perception into the fires of the senses. In the sense, fires of the senses. That is again a sacrificial pit. Everything is offering to the gods associated with different sense organs. So fires in the senses. This is how you will be able to overcome that mind dwelling in the sense object. So when the senses come in contact with the sense object, the mind comes in. The moment the mind comes, it starts dwelling in the object. When it starts dwelling in the object, there comes an attachment. And from that attachment comes a desire. So what happens? The desire, when you have a desire, then you either want to, eat that if it's a food, you want to eat it. If it's a clothes, if it's a garment, you want to adorn it. If it's something else, you want to possess it. You name it. There is the moment the desire comes into existence, then you're looking for a culmination of an action, which means I want to enjoy the fruits of the action. So there has to be a culmination of that action. That is what it leads to. And when you're enjoying the fruits of the action, then you're gone. Then what happens? Then you're incurring karma. So no oblation is getting offered. So that is why we say, when you dress for the Divine Lord, you're not doing it for you. You're doing it so that you want to make, you want to tell the Lord that I want to look beautiful for you. It's an offering to you. See, when you go to the temple or wherever, you're going to a work, remember, you're going to office. You want to look presentable, right? So even when you're performing, puja, that is when you're doing your prayers, you want to look nice for the Lord. So you dress for Him. You're not doing it for yourself. So that's what it is. It is the self offers itself in the fire of the Brahman. That is what you have to do. Everything is an offering to Him. So we always say Krishna Arpan. And when you do Krishna Arpan, then no karma accrues to you. You will not incur any sins. That is what he is teaching. So let us continue. Verse 27. Others sacrifice all the functions of their senses and the functions of the vital airs, that is prana, into the fire of yoga in the shape of self-control kindled by wisdom. Here he is talking about definitely the wise man. Nobody else can do this. So what is he telling here? He is saying others sacrifice all the functions of their senses. Who is this person? This individual is one who's a wise man, or he's a yogi, he's a sage or a saint. But what is that he's got? He's saying others sacrifice all the functions of their senses and the functions of the vital airs, that is prana, into the fire of yoga in the shape of self-control kindled by wisdom, in the shape of self-control. So you remember in the earlier chapter as well, in chapter 2, chapter 3, we learned something very profound. We were talking about the self-controlled yogi, one who has his senses, his mind, his body under his control, which means he's not listening to his body and his mind and senses are listening to him. He's the one who is in the command. He has self-control. He has achieved self-control, but by how? Kindled by wisdom. That is through the knowledge about the truth, kindled by wisdom. What does it mean? So he's gone through the journey, the process. Kindled is something that, you stir it up. And that has come through wisdom. How do you become wise? Through knowledge. And knowledge comes by learning. So this is what he has been able to achieve. And this is a wise man. He can be a yogi, he can be a sage or a saint. One who knows the truth, who understands one who understands the truth in this world, and one who is a self-realized being as well. Or you can call him an enlightened being, because he has the wisdom, he has knowledge, the real knowledge. So he's saying, this being, they offer everything in the shape of self-control. How do you achieve self-control? How do you be in the yoga? Yoga means union with the divine. Have you seen some of these sages and saints? They are lost in their self. They are lost in that unmanifest. They are always, in the blissful state. They are known as, what they experience is called Sachidanand, which is Sat, Chit, Anand. That is Sat is truth, Chit is knowledge, Anand means in the blissful state. They are ever blissful, and that has come through knowledge, understanding and knowing the truth about who is God all about. The truth is what they have understood. So they always sit in this state of equanimity and in yoga. which is union with the Divine Lord. Have you seen Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Ji? If you read the Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Ji's The Gospel of Truth, in that there are few photos of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Ji. You look at him, you will see him in an intoxicated state. That state is called the blissful state. He's in yoga. Or you look at Ramana Maharishi, if you have seen his pictures, he's also in a very different state. That state of being, lost in that yoga. He's in yoga. Yoga is union with the divine constantly. So they have offered everything in the form of self-control, kindled by wisdom. So they have achieved, that yoga through this practice, and that all those things they have offered in the sacrifice, as a sacrifice. So others sacrifice all the functions of their senses. So all the functions, not just one function, okay, all the functions, the aspect called seeing, touch, taste, smell, everything, listen or hear, speak, then taste, everything is offered. All these functions of the senses and the functions of the vital airs, even the prana, because they have, able to achieve how they breathe. There are certain yogis who just take one breath. I think it's, they take a breath a year, or whatever the time span. In 1 year, they will be able to just take one breath. What does that mean? They are able to control their vital airs. That is why they are able to live even for thousands of years. And they are in that perfect yoga. They are lost in their own self. They are union with the divine. So they have achieved the control, the functions of the senses and the functions of the vital air. Everything is under control. They have offered it as a sacrifice. So nothing touches them. They have realized that they are not the body. They are far beyond that. They are that unmanifest, that Parabrahman themselves. That is what they have been able to realize. So let us continue the next verse. Some perform sacrifice with material possessions. Some other offer sacrifice in the shape of austerities. Others sacrifice through the practice of yoga, while some striving souls observe austere vows, perform sacrifice in the shape of wisdom through the study of sacred text. So the Lord is describing everybody offers sacrifice in different capacities depending on the knowledge, the level of their spiritual understanding as well. So here is saying some perform sacrifice with material possessions. That is a mundane human being. Have you seen a normal human being? They say we want to do Ganapati Homam. What does Homam mean? Homam means it is a you do a in the Agni Kund, that is the sacrificial pit, you offer that oblations where you are having a fire and then you put lot of oblations. That's the sacrifice with material possessions, and that's very unique, and that is done for achieving certain benefits. And also material possessions. Some perform sacrifice with material possessions. Material possessions also means that you have something, you want to give it. You say, I offer this. It's a sacrifice that I make. It's some things that you have, you want to give it as well. So there are different ways of sacrifice. In this case, it's a material possession. Some perform sacrifice with material possessions. Possessions means what? Okay, I donate a certain land. I will give it as a sacrifice for the cause of a charity. That's a sacrifice that you're doing. Or I will offer, some objects that I have, which as a sacrifice, which is an offering towards a good cause, a charity, or whatever that you want to say. So these are sacrifice in the material possession aspect. Some offer sacrifice in the shape of austerities. What does being austere mean? That you practice austerities in your life. You do austere things. Austere also means that, okay, like I have a lifestyle, or I am following certain austere practices so that I am able to, evolve on the path of spiritualities. So some offer sacrifice in the shape of austerities. Others sacrifice through the practice of yoga. Others sacrifice through the practice of yoga. What does yoga mean? See, yoga doesn't actually mean like, you're doing a physical exercise, all the asanas. That is what we term as yoga. Here in this case, yoga means union with the divine. Yoga means you're actually in oneness. You will sit in meditation, you're constantly, lost in yourself. Yoga also means you can be performing an action, yet you are in that yoga through that action. Or sometimes you are only contemplating, you are in the yoga within yourself, thinking about that knowledge, where you're just meditating on that subject. So yoga can mean different things to different people. So here he's telling some others sacrifice through the practice of yoga, while some striving souls, observing austere vows, perform sacrifice in the shape of wisdom through the study of sacred text. This is very profound. So what is this thing? Some striving souls, one who really strives hard. For what do they strive? See, this is not, they're not striving for material possessions, they are not striving to earn name, fame, recognition in the world, or they're not striving to achieving a goal in their life. It's not a material gain, but what are they striving? Some striving souls. He's not saying everybody will do this. Very few, some striving souls, observing austere vows. So they observe some austere vows in their life. It could be like, look, I'm not going to eat certain food, I'm going to do certain practice. Some people have this practice of doing the oblation morning, evening, the Sandhya Vandan, we say, different austerities they practice. Whatever that you have taken a vow as. Some people might say, every day I will read this sacred text. That's a vow. Okay, I want to be reading, say, Jnaneshwari every day for the next 45 days or the next 1 year at certain hour. So those are the austere vows. And here what is he saying? Observing austere vows, perform sacrifice in the shape of wisdom. How do you gain wisdom? Wisdom comes through knowledge, through the study of sacred texts, and you attain the wisdom, you gain the wisdom through the study of sacred texts. So today what we are doing is an offering as a sacrifice through the study of this sacred scriptures. So this is not just going waste, it is in itself a sacrifice. We are offering the oblations through the study of the sacred scriptures in the fire of that sacrificial pit called the mind, or wherever that you are gaining that knowledge, right? So we say mind, we're studying using mind. That's what we say. So we do Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan. What does that mean? We are actually first listening. We are listening, we are studying, and then that knowledge comes to us. Then we contemplate on it. Once you contemplate on it, then you have to meditate on that knowledge so that you understand the deeper meaning, nuances, and that essence is absorbed. And that is what is offered in the sacrificial pit called the mind. And then the mind is used to, gaining that knowledge. And then you evolve beyond that. So mind is a tool given so that you use it to attain your higher goals in life, not for petty purpose. So here he's saying, so perform sacrifice in the shape of wisdom. So what do you gain? You gain wisdom through the study of sacred text. So what we are gaining here is the wisdom. We are becoming wise day by day through the study of this sacred scriptures or text. And Bhagavad Gita is one such sacred scripture. So let us continue. Verse 29, other yogis offer the act of exhalation into that of inhalation. Even so, others the act of inhalations into that of exhalation. There are still others given to the practice of pranayama, breath control, who, having regulated their diet and controlled the processes of exhalation and inhalation both, pour their vital airs into the vital airs themselves. All these have their sins consumed away by sacrifice and understand the meaning of sacrificial worship. Wow, that's very, very profound. See, everything that we do in our world isn't sacrifice itself. So when you think about saying that you're offering a sacrifice, and everything that I'm doing is a sacrifice, and in that sacrifice it's an offering, and you're not holding on to that, you're not latching on to that. When you think that it is just a sacrifice that you're doing, then you're not going to accrue any karma. There is no sins going to accrue to you. So here, let me reread this verse. It's not complicated, but it sounds complicated. Other yogis offer the act of exhalation into that of inhalation. Even so, others the act of inhalation into that of exhalation. So what does the yogi do? He sits in meditation. His breath, the exhalation and inhalation that happens, it is nothing but a process. It's a technique. Now, and they have controlled, it's an automated and a very regulated thing for the yogi. He's not focusing on his breath. It automatically, goes in that state. It says, no, so hum so. How do you inhale and exhale? That's exactly what it does. And what happens then? Then he offers a sacrifice. He's lost in that state. So he's a yogi. He's in that yoga, union with the divine Lord. At that time, he's offering that inhalation into exhalation and exhalation into inhalation. There are still others given to the practice of pranayama. So what is pranayama? Pranayama is a breathing technique. It's a breath control. So you're trying to regulate your breath. If anybody has done pranayama, there are different kinds of pranayama. So you focus on your breath. You try to breathe in a way where you are understanding what is the right way to breathe. You're controlling your breath, and that comes with years of practice. And then who, having regulated their diet and controlled the process of exhalation and inhalation both, pour their vital airs into the vital airs itself. Wow, that's very profound. So what should you do? Regulated your diet. You should also eat moderately. Regulating your diet means you have to eat at a prescribed hour. You have to heal a holistic meal. You should ensure that you're not overeating or you're eating less. You just need to eat that which is sufficient to sustain your body, so that you can stay fit and you can evolve on the path of doing your karma and doing whatever duties that you are ordained to perform. So here the Lord is also saying that there are still others given to the practice of pranayama, which is nothing but the breath control, who, having regulated their diet and control the process of both exhalation and inhalation. So you are able to control how you inhale the vital airs and how you exhale them out. So which means your body gets purified. And that purification is offering the vital airs in the vital airs itself, which is a sacrifice. So you're not saying, oh, I am doing pranayama. You're not getting attached to anything that is happening. You're only doing it as a sacrifice. So please remember, everything that we're doing is an offering as a sacrifice to the divine Lord. That is why we say Krishna Arpan. We samarpan to the divine. This is the truth about what real sacrifice means. All these have their sins consumed away by sacrifice. Wow. So he's talking a method. How do you overcome your karma? How does your sin gets wiped out? It's how do you clean all the sins, wash away the sins. He's saying all these have their sins consumed away by sacrifice. So when you perform any action in this capacity, then all your sins consumed away by sacrifice, and understand the meaning of sacrificial worship. So you will then understand the truth about and what is the real meaning of sacrificial worship. See, we have only seen all these panditjis, the great Brahmins, they say we are doing yajna. Yajna is performing, the sacrifice. And they do big yajna, and they give some very fantastic names. Oh, we are doing this yajna, we are doing that yajna. There's also, and then what you do in that is, they say Ashwamedha yajna. So there is a yajna which is performed in the olden times during the, when Sri Ram or Sri Krishna was there, when the kings, were ruling the country, the kingdoms, they used to perform this yajna, the sacrifice called the Ashwamedha yajna, which is you perform the yajna and there is a horse, and the horse is just left open. Wherever the horse goes, in whichever the land, whichever the kingdom it goes into, there they, fight with that king of that land or that kingdom, and then they capture that kingdom. So that is a yajna, that is a sacrifice. How in the earlier times, this was one of the things they used to do. So likewise, here he's telling all these are performed to remove the sins. So through these sacrifices, the sins have been consumed away. And what is that you understand? Then you understand the real meaning of the sacrificial offering. Then you're not saying, I own this, I possess this, I'm doing it for myself. So you're able to perform. What is that you will be able to achieve? Yoga of action or nishkama karma, where there are no sins accruing to you. Why? Because it is selfless action and you are only doing sacrifice through any action that you perform. I hope you've understood this verse. This is very, very important, because in this, the Lord has revealed how can you not incur the sins? How can you redeem yourself from any karma that exists? So the next verse is verse 31. Arjuna, yogis who have enjoyed the nectar that has been left over after the performance of a sacrifice attain the eternal Brahma. To the man who does not offer sacrifice, even this world is not happy. How then can the other world be happy? This is a very, very profound truth. It's a very, very important lesson, which is something that we all have to learn. Why? Because in our world we don't do this. Let us understand what is the Lord teaching here. He's saying, Arjuna, yogis who enjoy the nectar that has been left over after the performance of sacrifice attain the eternal Brahman. Say we are cooking a food, we are making naivedya. When you make a naivedya to offer to the Divine Lord, what do? Do you first taste it, or do you say, I will first eat and see how it is? If I like it, then I will offer it. Or it's okay, I can taste. We end up tasting it. And we think that is how the offering should be made. No. When you are offering a naivedya to the Divine Lord, you don't do that. What you do is, you make everything which is for the Lord. You first offer to the Lord as naivedya. That's a sacrifice that you offer. Once you're offered, then the blessed food is then given to everybody as prasad alone. But if you offer anything having first you enjoyed that offering and then you offer it to the Divine Lord as a sacrifice, then you have definitely not done anything great. Then you will incur karma. Please remember this. Yogis who enjoy the nectar that has been left over after the performance of sacrifice attain the eternal Brahman. Whatever that is there, first you should offer to the Divine Lord as a sacrifice, and then only you have to enjoy the leftover. But what do? We first want to eat. We first want to enjoy. Then and as an afterthought, we'll say, okay, now I can offer it to the God. Let me give so much. That should not be the case. See, this is a very interesting thing again, what the Lord is talking. I'll give you a very interesting example. If you have, seen people, some people, they use the example of Shabari. Now, what did Shabari do? She understood her God, Sri Ram, was visiting her. So she went and they say bear. It's a fruit, it's a berry. Okay. Now, Shabari plucked those berries and she was tasting it. And whichever was sour, she would just throw that away. And whichever was sweet, she would offer to the Lord. So she first tasted and she kept it. But that understanding is very different. That's to say that her love was highest, where she only wanted to offer the good stuff. See, people misconstrue these things. You can't use that example for something else. But when you're performing a naivedya, you can't taste and then offer to the Lord. That is wrong. That doesn't approve. But in our Krishna ashram, we say, Guruji, you taste it. Because the Guru is the Parabrahman himself. So when he tastes, there is no juta. Juta means you're not first tasting. He's a Divine Lord. There's nothing, no rules is applicable to the Divine Lord. He's God alone. So when he's tasting it, then there is nothing wrong. So every time in Krishna ashram, when we make these naivedyas, we will offer to our Guruji and say, you taste it whether everything is nice. Because you want to offer the best offering of the food, right? Whatever you're making. So you want to ensure the sweet is perfect or the salt is correct. It tastes perfect. That's what you want to do. But you cannot yourself taste it, because then you're partaking without offering the sacrifice to the Lord. That is how it works. So we offer to the Guruji, and once he tastes and say, okay, there is little salt less, you can add little salt. Then we do it. But some people, if the Guruji gives you the permission, saying, no, you taste it yourself, then you can. But without the Guruji's permission, and if you taste and then offer to the God, then it is wrong. It doesn't work like that. And there are people who use this, they misconstrue the way how things has to be done. Naivedya cannot be offered by you tasting it. Please remember, this is very important. It's only when you take the permission of the Guru, and the Guru says it's okay, you can taste, and then you can see if the salt is less, you can add the salt, and then you can offer it, then it is okay. But without his permission, if you do it, that is a sin. And this knowledge is not understood. So many a time when, when we perform, during certain puja over here, we always go to our Krishna Guruji. Based on what he says, only with his permission can the food be tasted before offering it as a sacrifice to the Divine Lord. So that is how it works. So coming back, as a normal human being, if you're going to make a Naivedya and you are going to eat that first and enjoy that, and then after thought you'll say, okay, fine, it's nice, it's good tasting, it's according to the taste buds, my taste buds, if that is what you're thinking, how you like it, and that is why you've made it in such a way, then it's never called a sacrifice. Then you're only, partaking it even before offering to the Divine Lord. That's a sin. So what is he saying? So yogis who enjoy the nectar that has been left over. So what should you enjoy? After offering it to the Divine Lord, after everybody has finished partaking of it, then you accept whatever is the leftover as a prasad. Prasad means it's a blessed food, or anything that comes after the offering is a blessed things. Okay, it could be flowers, it could be fruits, it could be any object that is blessed. But first you have to show the sacrifice. First you have to offer it, and then only you have to partake of it. So he's saying the leftover after the performance of a sacrifice attain the eternal Brahman. One who does this, then they attain the eternal Brahman. So people can, misconstrue anything any which ways. Oh no, they use the Shabari's example. She offered to Sri Ram, trying to taste. No, Shabari, Sri Ram is Sri Ram. You are not a devotee, or you are not become a realized being to do that. Yeah, my Krishna Guruji many a time will he gives exceptions to everything, because he understands people are ignorant and they have their own ego when they come and do all these kind of nonsensical thing. And let me tell you, one of such action that happened, and the person did taste, and the Naivedya was made, one of the offering in the Naivedya was made, and that tastes the most horrendous. So things happen like that, because you can't use your mind over there. No, this is how we'll do. You don't taste, you don't offer your jhuta to God. Jhuta means whatever you have already tasted. We first offer it everything that is pure. It's not contaminated with anything. There's no mind, there is no your likes, your taste is not there. We only see how the Lord likes it, and then you make it accordingly. So this is how it works. So to the man who does not offer sacrifice, even this world is not happy. How then can the other world be happy? See, no matter what you do, if a man does not offer sacrifice, what does it say? If anybody, this human being, 99% of the people, 99.99999% of the people do not offer the sacrifice. So what is he saying? To the man who does not offer sacrifice, even this world is not happy. So how then can the other world be happy? So how can then the other world be happy? In this world itself, we don't do it. This is how we human beings are. We don't know what is the right way. So that is why we have to learn under the tutelage of the Guru. The Guru interprets, he gives you that understanding, and he teaches how to do, what to do. So many a time, because we are in the Kali Yuga, the Guruji makes a lot of exceptions. Not because he wants to make the exceptions, because he understands we are all petty human beings who cannot live up to that standard. So here, to live to that standard is what the Lord is teaching, the way of life. How do you perform an action? How do you conduct yourself? How do you do a sacrifice? All this is being taught. And today, my Guruji will say, I have to, let go, ignore, I have to pardon people endlessly because of their ignorance, because of their ego, because they don't understand. I have to forgive all of them. And here, there's no way that all these people are ever going to understand this lesson and follow in their life. They're not going to apply it in their life. They'll just learn it for the heck of learning it. But that's what the Lord says. Only the striving soul will make an effort to practice this lesson. We will truly live this lesson, but till the time you don't live this lesson, then nothing can be achieved. This will then just remain a bookish knowledge. Yeah, we have done satsang, we have understood this, but you're not going to practice it. Then what is the use of this knowledge? That is something you have to ask yourself. And that goes for you and me, both of us. The knowledge comes to those who are seeking it. And when you seek, you have to imbibe, you have to contemplate, you have to practice, you have to apply. If you don't apply the knowledge, then the fructification of knowledge will never happen. And till the time it doesn't fructify, then the sacrifice remains just a sacrifice. You're not going to get that fructification of that sacrifice that you have made. But first the sacrifice has to be made. And then whatever that comes out of the sacrifice is the blessed food. It's like the prasad. That is what you finally accept from as a blessing from the divine Lord. So the knowledge, also the fructification of knowledge itself, is because of this sacrifice of studying the sacred Vedas, the scriptures. And then when you practice it, when you continue to strive, the striving souls, he says, when you put arduous effort in achieving that which you have learned, is then the fructification happens. Then you're partaking after offering this sacrifice. So, to the man who does not offer sacrifice, even this world is not happy. So, how then can the other world be happy is a question. Please remember. So, always, first, no matter what you do, offer everything as a sacrifice to the divine Lord, and then only partake of it. Hope you understood this verse. So, let us continue. Verse 32. Many such forms of sacrifice have been set forth in detail in the Vedas. So this is all mentioned in the Vedas. And please remember, unfortunately, our Vedas is misinterpreted, because Vedas cannot be taught by normal human beings just because somebody is like my Guruji will say, Shendi wala Baba. I'm sorry to say that. The one who has, the priest will have a long hair. And so he'll say, he's got that long hair. Why? Because it's the representation of him being a Brahmin. He's supposed to be teaching Vedas, but if he doesn't himself have learnt under the tutelage of a real master, how will he then understand what the real meaning of the Vedas mean? Yesterday I was talking to somebody, and this someone interestingly said that the phrase called Mata Pita Guru Daivam, okay, means first comes your mother, father, then the Guru, and then comes the God. Actually, this has been misinterpreted, the real meaning. So I explained to this person, sorry, what you're talking is completely from a material standpoint, because you have not understood the Vedas. He was telling it is mentioned in our Vedas. But I told him that's not what the real meaning is. It means that your Guru is your mother and father, your Guru is your God. The interpretation that we have always been given is a different interpretation, because nobody has taught that. Only God can teach you who God is, not a human being. So these Vedas have been interpreted by human beings. So how can you say that is the knowledge? That is not the knowledge, because the truth is something very different, and the truth can only be described by the truth itself. So who is the truth? God alone is the truth. So only the divine manifests, when the divine manifests in the form of a Guru, and then gives you, imparts that knowledge, then only you'll understand the truth. And please remember that truth also, it takes many years and lifetimes to get that complete understanding, and you can never completely learn anything, the scripture at all, because it is like Athanga Sagar, limitless ocean. So how much can you learn? Only few drops. So the right knowledge, the knowledge about the truth, can only be explained by the God himself, when the Almighty Lord manifests. So here also Lord Shri Krishna is a Purna avatar. He's a manifestation. He's a complete manifestation of the entire essence of the Lord Shri Krishna, as in this avatar. Avatar is an incarnation. Now, and he is incarnated so that he can give this knowledge to Arjuna, and this knowledge is not for everybody. So 99.99% of the people in this world will interpret the meaning of Mata, Pita, Guru, Daivam means, oh, we have to first worship our parents. You know, they are our real God. Then comes the Guru, because he's the one who's giving us the material knowledge. We are not talking about one who's giving you teaching you the material subjects, okay? And then comes the God. God is last. No. The way to interpret that is, your Guru is your parents, both the one who has given birth to you, and he's the Lord Almighty. Everything is your Guru alone. That is the real meaning. But can you even agree? No. Why? Because you have already been brainwashed to believe, no, your parents are your first God that you need to worship. Your parents comes first in your life. Then comes the Guru, the teacher, because you go to school and the teacher is the one is giving you the knowledge, and then comes God. God is last. What kind of an interpretation is that? Have you ever asked the question? No. Your parents and God is your Guru alone. That is the truth. But this truth is not understood by anybody. Nobody knows, because you have not been taught. That is why it is said only God can teach who God is. The Vedas can be interpreted by the divine Lord alone, because he is the Vedanga. The Vedas are the Anga, means it's the part of his being. The Vedas have emanated from the divine Lord, so only he will be able to teach the truth about the Vedas. So Vedas are not understood by us. It's all misconstrued. Understood? So many such forms of sacrifice have been set forth in detail in the Vedas. Know them all as involving the action of mind, senses and body. Thus, knowing the truth about them, you shall be freed from the bondage of action through their performance. Wow, that's very powerful. But first of all, we don't even know the Vedas. So where is the question of even interpreting in the right in the right sense? Of course not. All the interpretation is wrong, and we follow all these wrong practices. So that is why the entire world is in the delusion. The reason why Lord Shri Krishna has to come to establish dharma is because of this. Because of our misunderstanding of the Vedas and wrong interpretations, we have gone off the path. We are not operating within that framework, unfortunately. So the divine Lord has to manifest time and again to establish the dharma back, to also impart this knowledge about the truth about who is God, what does Vedas mean, and that too to that one striving soul, not to everybody. This knowledge can be given to only one, because you have to walk this path. This journey is not such an easy thing. Today I have said Mata, Pita, Guru, Daivam. What is the real meaning? Will you even accept it? There are people in this world who will say, no, this is what it means. But who has given you the knowledge? Have you learnt under a guru? No. It's your own interpretation. How can you interpret anything? Today, there are a lot of people in this world who are giving Bhagavad Gita lessons. Please remember, Bhagavad Gita cannot be taught by anybody. Only with the instruction from the divine master can the knowledge come from your mouth. Only then you are qualified to teach. When the Guru says, when the real Guru is telling you, now you go teach, you must have learnt under him, under his tutelage, and then if he's giving you an ordain, go teach this now, or go and give exposition on this subject, only then can you do that, not otherwise. That is the truth about these spirituality, the scriptures and every other thing. But people are just using baseless knowledge, their own minds misconstrued knowledge or understanding, and they are teaching Bhagavad Gita. Do you think the knowledge is anyway going to be useful, or you can be able to apply? And not just that, they are telling Bhagavad Gita can be used to as a management lesson. I understand Lord Shri Krishna is a master strategist, but that doesn't mean that you can't use this saying, okay, it's about how you interpret it. I agree, you can apply the same lesson in your life to live a righteous path, to follow the righteous path, or to follow the path of dharma. But that doesn't mean that is what it is. So understanding the real meaning of these words is his grace alone. This doesn't just come like that. So don't misinterpret. So what I'm trying to tell here is, only God can explain who God is, not anybody else. And without learning under the real master, you cannot understand what is meant in Vedas. And all the rituals that we perform is based on the human interpretation. The real meaning is not understood by us. So what is the Lord saying here? Many such forms of sacrifice have been set forth in detail in the Vedas. Know them all as involving the action of mind, senses and body. So he's saying, what is he saying? Know them all as involving the action of mind, senses and body. So the sacrifice, the different many forms of sacrifice have been set forth in detail in Vedas, but they're all involved what? Know them all as involving. It all involves the action of mind, senses and body. So the mind, body, senses, the action of these three things are involved in that. And thus knowing the truth about them, you shall be freed. Thus knowing the truth about them. So do you know the truth? No, you don't know. You think that, if you do some sacrifice means to benefit the fruit. If I do this puja, if I perform this sacrifice, I need this XYZ benefit. That is why I'm performing. No, it is not for that. So he's saying, thus knowing the truth about them, you shall be freed from the bondage of action. Only when you know the truth about them, you will be free from the bondage of action through their performance. Once you understand the truth about what does it mean to perform these sacrifices involving the action of mind, senses and body, understanding the truth, then you perform. Only then will you be freed from the bondage of action, not until then. I hope you understood this. So with that, we will stop here, and in our next satsang, we will begin from verse 33 onwards. This is not an easy verse, but I at least hope you've understood a little bit. I've tried as to the best of my ability to explain, but please understand this knowledge is not mine. The words are of my Krishna Guruji's wisdom. Thank you once again for joining the Bhagavad Gita Satsang, the way of life as described by Lord Shri Krishna to Arjuna. Om Shri Mahaganapate Namaha. Om Shri Gurudev Datta. Om Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Digambara Digambara Shripad Vallabha Digambara. Om Shri Krishna Gurunath Natha Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Devi Durgaya Namaha. Om Shri Krishna Arpanam Namastu. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum.